Good morning, everyone. Or afternoon. I keep saying good morning because I'm so used to making these types of videos in the morning. It is Monday, January 18th, Martin Luther King Day. So, happy Martin Luther King Day to everyone. It is, or I should say, it is the week of the inauguration, and I figured I'd go ahead and cover some of the things that President-elect Joe Biden plans on enacting on his first day, first week, first month, probably. Like, all of this stuff is going to be jammed through, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. But I wanted to lead off with this. This is on Fox News Live, screenshot. Biden plans to undo, quote, America First policies. So I just want that to sink in for a little bit. Biden plans to undo America First policies. So essentially what he's saying with this act is, oh, we don't want America to be the priority here, which I think is pretty insane because nearly every other country on the planet has agendas that are pro, insert country name here. They are the ones who get priority on everything. My country, my people, that whatever benefits them, not what benefits somebody else. Now, if they can come to an agreement where both sides benefit, then fine. And when I say benefit, I mean benefit greatly. Basically, what Biden is doing is putting America last on the list with a lot of these proposals that he's going to bring up and pass and executive order and all that stuff. Basically, we're going to see the mighty pen being more powerful than anything on the face of in this country when it comes to executive orders, just like we saw with President Obama. We're going to see the same thing here with President Biden. And no one's going to do anything about it because they control all three branches of government. Well, not three branches, I say all three levels of government. And the Supreme Court, let's just be honest, the Supreme Court is a waste of space at this point after everything that's happened within the last few months. So, and even if the Republicans could do something about it, they won't. The ones that are currently in there, the GOP, the rhinos, they are some of the most feckless, weak politicians I've ever seen in my entire life. And I can't believe for a while I thought they were actually on our side. Now, I have to admit I was a bit naive on that point, but it's been made obviously clear that the only thing they ever cared about was their own agenda, their own goals. They never cared about the people, the president, anything. All they cared about was their own goals. So, America Last is going to be the policy going forward. And I have a few things that I'm going to go over real quick. Start here. New York Times, Biden is expected to cancel the Keystone XL pipeline permit on his first day in office. Now, this is very controversial, and I understand why. They're pushing this whole thing that, it's going to ruin the environment, it's passing through preserves, it's going to, cause environmental damage that's irreversible, blah, 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 blah. And sure, yes, that is a possibility. And that just goes to show how much people do not trust our own infrastructure. But they'll go ahead and trust our own infrastructure when it comes to green energy. Now, one of the things that's being proposed is Biden wanting to make America just like California. They want to divert all resources to renewable energy. Yet California literally cannot keep the damn lights on. They cannot keep the air conditioning on. They had to have rolling blackouts over the summer. That is not what I call effective resource and energy management. That is what I call third world country levels of energy poverty. I mean, let's face it, California, people are already taxed to the max. It's the most expensive place to live in the country, arguably. You can make a case for New York City. Yet, they can't even keep the damn lights on. That's a problem. That's a problem. It goes to show you that green energy, renewable energy, is a good idea, but we're not there yet. We don't get to these plateaus, these peaks of renewable energy as a viable source by rushing through everything and foregoing all fossil fuels and just going 100% renewable within the next 20 years. That's a pathway to energy suicide. And not only that, destroying an entire workforce in the process. And we're talking like family generations of workers being completely wiped out. And everyone seems to be perfectly fine with this. Now, what I am predicting with this right here is it was 1,200 miles, and it was basically going to be funneling Dakota and Canada crude oil all the way down to refineries in Texas so it can be processed and either exported, which gives us money, or put into use here in the stateside to make us more energy independent so we don't have to import energy resources, which costs us money. What I am expecting, and you're probably already noticing it, gas prices are starting to go up, and it's only going to get worse with this whole thing here. I mean, look at this. These are all resources here, because President Trump had greenlit the construction of this. These are all resources here that have been purchased, that have been bought, transported to this location. Now that this is going to be revoked, what the hell do you do with this? You can't resell it. I mean, you can, but you're going to make fractions of the amount you spent on it. You're putting thousands of people out of work, and I'm talking about like working stiffs like you and me. Middle class people who work construction, hard construction, manual labor, putting them out of work. They were just who knows how many people may have temporarily relocated there already, thinking that they were going to have a multi-year job, because this was going to take a while. This was going to take a few years, because you're talking 1,200 miles. Maybe not a few years. I don't know. I'm no architectural expert, but it was going to be a stable job for a good amount of time. But of course, the ones who don't feel the burn are the ones who are at the top, the rich, people who own these companies. Yeah, sure, they'll take a bite out of the resources that they spent here, but for the most part, they still got their money, they still have their business, they still have their stocks, their bonds, their whatever. And of course, the other people who are not going to be impacted by this, also because of the rising gas prices and all that stuff, are the professional impersonators in Hollywood. The ones who protested this and waved their flags and signs and jumped up and down and chanted songs. People like Mark Ruffalo, professional idiot, he's going to be jumping up and down gleefully about this while he, praises and sings the praises of Joe Biden to the masses, to the plebs below him from his ivory tower, while the rest of us are going to be paying like $3 a gallon for gas. You remember how bad 2008 was when it came to gas prices? We're going to be getting there again. Right now, the average in my area is $2.30. We're almost halfway there. So it's only going to get worse. Down here, let's see. This is expected to happen on January 20th, revoking this. Had it been completed, it was going to take 830,000 barrels a day of Canadian and North Dakota crude to refineries in Texas and Louisiana. So that's more jobs, obviously, down there, keeping companies, refineries busy down there in the South to either export overseas or enhance domestic supplies, which is, kind of a good thing. And let's see. It was going to create jobs and help local economies, because not only do you have this pipeline, but that pipeline needs to be maintained. It needs to be inspected. It needs to be well kept. That's going to create local jobs for people to go out there and say, oh, hey, this needs to be touched up. This needs to be replaced. We need to do some repairs here. That happens. And that's where local economies get help. People getting jobs in that area. So, that's bad. Then we also have, piggybacking off of this, is the climate change. Joe Biden plans to reintroduce the United States into the Paris Climate Accord. We're talking about massive spending on these climate policies. He's talking $500 billion each year. That would be $1,500 per person when it comes to the tax rate increases and new taxes being proposed. Let that sink in. $500 billion each year on climate policies. Yet these people in Washington could not spare the extra cash. If we're just going to go ahead and talk about spending, unabated here, we're talking, these people in Congress could not spare the extra $1,400 per person for the COVID stimulus bill. No. Here's some chump change, plebs. Here, maybe you can make your car payment, buy some groceries for a week if you have a family. Yet they want to go ahead and drop $500 billion on climate policies. Not everybody is saying like, oh, well, money is finite. It's not going to last forever. It's like, yeah, but we're talking about people's livelihood. We're talking about people, the difference between having a house foreclosed on and giving yourself another month to figure things out. Sometimes that's all people need to turn things around. So, now, as the article states, climate is a man-made problem. It is. Well, to say that man has not had an impact on the climate would be foolish. It is obvious, but to the degree we obviously don't know yet. I mean, we've had temperatures like this well before in our past. I can reference Dr. Randall Carlson. I suggest you look him up. He had a really good presentation on the Joe Rogan Experience. I don't really watch Joe Rogan, but I did happen to stumble across that one, and that was very well done. And he talks about how when the climate is cold and damp, that's when the dark ages hit. That's when a lot of things weren't happening. Crops weren't being yielded. People were dying. People were getting sick. Expansion did not happen. But when the temperatures warmed and things got better, diseases went down. Farming was more plentiful. Expansion happened. Greater colonies emerged. Building of empires happened in the warm weather. Now, and he stated, with evidence, that the planet's been this warm before, and it's also been a lot colder before. To the degree of how much man has had on climate is still being debated. And I mean, we could go on and on about this, but asking people to spend $1,500 every year is unsustainable. When surveys show a majority is unwilling to spend $24 a year on climate. Let's see. Yeah, the climate alarm is fully felt. Take hurricanes. Last year, you undoubtedly heard that climate change made hurricanes record-setting. Actually, 2020 was above average in the North Atlantic, partly because of the natural La Nina phenomenon, and only record-setting in that satellites could spot more storms. When measured by total hurricane damage potential, the 2020 North Atlantic was not even in the top 10 and almost everywhere else on the planet, hurricanes were far below average. Globally, 2020 ranked as one of the weakest hurricane years in the 40-year satellite record. So the UN Climate Panel, the gold standard of climate science, tells us that the total impact of climate change in the 2070s will be equivalent to an average income reduction of 0.2 to 2%, which means that humans as a whole will be only a fraction less prosperous in a much richer world than they would be without climate change. Rejoining the Paris Agreement will solve very little at a high cost. By the UN's estimates, if all nations live up to their promises, they will reduce global temperature by less than 0.09 degrees Fahrenheit by 2100. Now, it's not saying that doesn't mean, oh, well, we shouldn't do anything. But throwing all of these resources for this amount seems a little foolhardy. And then people are going to say, well, we should be doing more. So, like, okay, do you want to bankrupt the entire planet? That's one way to do it. And Paris is costly because it forces economies to use less and more expensive energy. Across many studies, the drag to the economies is estimated between $1 trillion and $2 trillion in lost GDP every year after 2030. So, you can pretty much see the nonsense that's coming for us. And now finally we'll go to immigration, because obviously it's a hot topic. Joe Biden plans to introduce immigration bill immediately. So he's introducing a bill that would allow 11 million illegal immigrants to become permanent U.S. residents and give them the right to pursue citizenship after an 8-year wait. As expected, Biden also plans to issue an immediate executive order to extend DACA, the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program that shields young people brought to the U.S. as children from deportation. The new order will keep the program in place for another 4 years. So, the new waiting period would shave 5 years off the 13-year delay required under current rules. Obviously, this is not going to garner a lot of support because it's not going to be linking anything to border security or enhancement measures. So that's not really going to unify a whole lot of people in the Senate. So obviously, immigration is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. But the problem is that we can't just take in all these millions of people and just throw them into the system. You have to look at, we can barely take care of our own people. How many homeless people do we have just in California alone? And to think that it's going to boom the economy because they're just magically going to start paying paying taxes. Oh yeah, sure, maybe that's true, but, and I'm talking like on a real level here. There's the Biden administration is going to be implementing so many social programs that it's going to be raising taxes on all of us, which means that all of us are going to be significantly less wealthy than before, which means more and more people are going to be thrusted into government welfare programs. And I'm not just talking about, I'm not singling out immigrants. I'm talking everyday Americans. I'm not ashamed to admit it. When I was growing up, my mom and I were on food stamps for a while. My mother was a single mother, we were on food stamps for a while. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Shit happens. But with all of these tax increases, undoing all of the things that the Trump administration did, all of these are not going to boost the economy. As a matter of fact, it's going to stagnate it. And with the reversal of a lot of energy plans, it's going to cause a lot of energy price increases. Most notably is going to be gas. Because as all of you know, all of us use cars to get to work. For me for example, it's like 35 minute drive to and from work. To work one way. So, filling up gas, it's going to, I used to be able to fill my tank with just over $20, $25, maybe a little bit more. Now it's going to be in the 30s, and it's going to keep going up. I can't really give any advice on what to do outside of pay attention to state and local elections, and just brace for impact. You know, save money, invest wisely. If you're a gold person, buy gold. If you're a Bitcoin person, look into Bitcoin. I can't give any financial advice. Just be very frugal from this day forward, because it's only going to get more challenging ahead. So with that being said, God bless everyone who's tuned in. If you enjoyed, please hit like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. I'm trying to be more vigilant, making more of these videos. And yeah, I will continue to pray for the good of this nation. And I will see you all later.